Hi, guys, and welcome to Keep Hope Alive podcast. Today, we got a great episode. We have Julia Pearce here with us. Hi, Julia.
Hi there.
We've been chatting, and this lady is so amazing, and she is strong and fierce and helping other people out like to the max. And I just want to say thank you for coming on Keep Hope Alive and everything. But before we dive in, I'm going to ask you straight off. It's totally opposite than what we're talking about. But over the past 10 years, how many weddings have you actually been to?
Oh, wow. Probably 15 weddings.
15 like a part of me is like, are you in the industry or 15 friends?
Friends and family. Yeah, they keep us busy.
Hey, that works. Okay, so when you go usually into the ceremony site, what is that thing that you usually have to sign and let them know that you were there?
Oh, it's that great guest book. They want to let us know, right? Make us known.
So what if they took away that guest book and replaced it with a rotary firm to pick up? Life on Record is our sponsor here at Keep Hope Alive, and that's exactly what they did. So they replaced the guest book with a vintage rotary phone that your guests can pick up and leave their messages. Hey, congratulations. Now, I say it's all in the tone of the voice because you can pick up on people's vibes, their energy, or you can be like, it's about time. You finally got married. But what is so awesome about this, not only do you have the phone there, but you have a QR code. So you can take out your own cell phone, scan that QR code. You can leave a message before or after. I don't suggest during, or like driving home from the reception and everything. But what they do is collect all these messages. They will burn it on a 12-inch vinyl record, or they have this cute little boom box that they put all the messages. So I guess if you're celebrating a 1 year anniversary, you can go back and listen to this, It's great to hear people's voice. I love it. But their plans start at $99, which is amazing. And you get that phone number for a year. So here's my tidbit advice. They give it to you for a year. So right before their year anniversary, call back, leave a message. So they have more messages. So, but you can find them at www. Did I say too many W's? www.lifeonrecord.com. So I say, hey, there's bloopers here. Let's have fun. So, but definitely, I want to welcome you. And as I was saying, you are actually the start of season 7 for Keep Hope Alive. So you're our first episode. I'm so excited. Now, I I was reading and talking about what makes you you. I mean, we're gonna go into your journey, but tell us about yourself.
Oh, wow. So I love that question because part of, I think, where this begins is so long ago, right? So part of me began when I was so much younger, and I found out that I love to be active, which is part of what drills into me. I love going up and down mountains. I love digging in the dirt. I also love being really still. And I'm one of those people that can just sit in silence, which is not always great for other people, which means I like to do yoga. I also love to just read a book as well. One of those things is I live near mountains, and so I do have opportunity, mostly in the past couple of years, to go running up and down mountains. I'm on a little hiatus. I broke my foot a couple of years ago, and I'm now letting it repair itself. But
Yeah.
there's something about pounding up a mountain and then floating down it. My quads do not always agree with the floating down. They yell a little bit at me. But those are kind of the things that I found that if I stick with the core of that, the running, digging in the dirt, being still, and doing yoga, which I can do yoga anywhere. Nobody knows when I'm doing mountain pose or a slight tree variation. That
So cool.
has kept me going through many, many years of life.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
like I envision myself doing, well, not the yoga part. I'm all over the place. I'm if I was on the mountain, I have my camera out. I gotta get this shot, but I always look at the sky. How is the sky? Like, is
Yes.
it shining here? I just have that, I'm gonna call it a spiritual awakening. Like,
Mhm.
I really go with what the earth and universe is giving me to take that picture and capture that moment. So yeah, that's, but the hiking up and I can't do that. How long does it take you to get up them? I remember in Virginia, it took like 2 or 3 hours to get up a mountain and 30 minutes to get down. I was like, what?
That's about it. Yeah,
Really?
there's a race that I've done a few times where you do with 11 other runners. We're running across the back side of our mountains here in Utah. It's called you run across the Wasatch, and it takes much longer to run up the mountain than it does to run down. But I have been known, not to the joy of the other runners around me, to stop and pull out my cell phone to do exactly what you do and to take a picture. And
Yeah.
I'd always try and get off the trail or the road a little bit. But I've been known to stop in the middle of those races and pull some pictures right in the middle of a race, which is fun for me because I have also learned that I do need to enjoy the moments and I do need to look up and pay attention to not only that
Yeah.
run, or sometimes it's a trudge, right? If I'm going up
Yeah.
a really steep incline, then that's what I do now. And it's really enjoyable to be in that space as my muscles are yelling at me, but knowing that I do have the strength to get through it,
Yeah.
to also pause and then get back to the, all right, fine, I'll get back to the run and my pace and drinking all of the things.
We don't have many mountains in Texas, but when I go hiking, oh my gosh, there's this bridge out here and it's known to be haunted. And my daughter wanted to go, my son wanted to go, and my ex was with me. But I am known, oh, I want to go this way. And then it's like my kids were over here. My ex felt the need to go another way. And I learned for the first time, I didn't get that far, like, but yelling, hey, where are you guys? I thought they could hear me and they couldn't, not
Ah,
one word. And I was like, I felt fear. I felt my heart racing. I'm like, why did I venture off? But I was like, as a kid, I would do that too in Virginia. Like I wanted to explore. And I always say, take a path that was given to me. Like I'm
yeah,
supposed to go this way. There's something I need to see. And it sounds like when you're doing the mountains and going here and there and getting pictures, it's meant to be. So that's awesome. And it's great meditation too. I love it. I love it. So, and then you also like working in a garden and camping and reading a good book. Like that's something for me. It's so funny. I'll interview a bunch of authors, but my one question is it on Audible? I don't know what it is. It's like I like to put my AirPods in and just
yes,
listen to somebody read it for me. Like I don't want to do the work. So
that's true. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So when you garden, I used to have a green thumb and it was always tomatoes and watermelon and cucumbers. When you're gardening, what's your strong fruit or vegetable, I guess, that you grow?
So right now, I actually love doing plants that are native to our area.
Okay.
So we have a lot of plants that do just that. So they can thrive and grow on very little water. We're in a high desert here where I live in this part of Utah. And so I love to find plants that are very resilient, very strong, that can withstand really high temperatures. We get above
Is
100.
yep.
Yes. And so I used to do vegetable gardening, but I now travel a lot for my work and I do a lot of additional things. We have family members that were around a lot. So the vegetable gardens are not what I am in line with right now. It's not my groove right now, which is kind of a bugger. We used to love doing those
Yeah.
vegetable gardens, but I love finding the plants that just flourish and still gather the hummingbirds and the bees. I do love all of those pollinators,
You like the
all the
bees?
things.
Oh, I'm
Bees are
scared of you.
excellent. Yeah, I can't be around them. I'm actually very highly allergic, but they come around and they bring, all of the growing to the rest of our season, right? We need them for
Yes.
our fruit trees, for all the rest of the things. So that's our fun right now. How much can we do and have beautiful things all around us with the things that have been growing in our region, in our state for longer than we have been here, right? Longer than we've been in this part of the world. Other people have lived here, of course, for many thousands of years, but not us. So that's what I love doing right now. And if it takes very little effort on my part, that leaves me to go play on a mountain or do some riding or do some other fun stuff. That's the fun. That's
That
the
is fun. That's the fun part. So, how now, like where you are today, it's been a journey for you. So,
yeah.
and I know you're an author, and I want to get into that too. So, I want to just kind of jump in and, kind of see like where you have a family. We'll start out with that. Um, yeah, no, did I say it wrong?
Yes. No, that's
Oh,
good. No,
okay.
that's
I was
good.
like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
did I say it wrong? So,
No,
I
that's
mean,
good.
but your journey, and I told you already, I want you to jump into this because it is, it's, I feel in my heart that I really want you to talk about this and give our listeners what you've been through and stuff. It's coming from your heart and soul. I mean, I can sit here and say what your bio is, but it's not going to do justice because hearing the story and everything that you've been through, I want you to get started on it. So,
Excellent. Yes, excellent. This is actually one of my most favorite things to share about because it's been kind of twisty for us. And people don't always love that twist. In fact, I've heard some people say they're tired of being resilient. Can't we just not be resilient and do that growth thing? But when I mentioned that I love um, running mountains, I didn't love that in the beginning because you have to work really hard at
mhm.
building muscles. And but before you build them, you have to break them completely down. And it's an interesting parallel to how I learned how to love mountains and
Mhm.
running them because I you have to do the uphill before you get the downhill, which is an interesting thought. You can't have somebody drop you at the top and then float down the mountain. You could do that, but then you don't build all of your muscles that actually strengthen you for the downhill because your quads do get beat on when you're running a beautiful downhill. And it's interesting because
Running
as
down, I'm sorry, running
yeah,
downhill?
running downhill, it's fun, but
It
you
is.
do use a lot of muscles when you're breaking down a mountain. Um, so I had to build that strength. I had to build that up. And part of what I have found with my own story that also includes our son who lived his own extraordinary life is that we had to build our own strength and resilience a step at a time. And that came through his surviving an illness. So I tell about this, and I have actually had opportunities to talk about this since he first was in the hospital. So our son survived an illness when he was 2 years old. Nobody knew how he was going to do that. And actually, we don't know how he survived that illness, but he had tenacity when he was born. He was this really strong, resilient young man. When he was 1 year old, he was just joyful and just this really curious fellow when he was super young. So we had to build our resilience and strength as he was also building his one step at a time. And I think when people say they don't want to become resilient anymore, it's because it's hard. And it was hard as we were going through our building of resilience, because our son coming through a really big illness, and he survived that, which was extraordinary. We left the hospital with such joy, and mostly because we had no idea what was coming next, and that was probably a good thing. He then faced many, many challenges, additional illnesses, many disabilities, which means he had to learn how to walk again and use his hands again and to sit up again, and many things due to this illness. And then I had to figure out how to support him with a little bit of guidance from extraordinary doctors and therapists, but it's mostly on a family to then go forward. So
Yeah.
part of that was saying, okay, we can do this, even though we have no idea what we're doing. Sometimes it's good to be innocent and be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but we're sure going to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that's the start of how we began. And that was 30 years ago. My
Yeah.
math gets a little fuzzy. I think I see a lot of people when they're doing math, and we all are like, sure, it's about 30 years ago.
It's about, yeah, the
Yeah,
word about, like,
it's about.
I feel bad because I can never remember my brother's age, and I go,
Yes.
I think he's a few years younger. Like, I never kept track with that, and I just feel bad. And I, how do you not know what your brother's age is? I, it's a choice. It's like, oh, nope. But yeah, definitely. So, um, with the diagnosis and everything, I mean, you're probably in and out of the hospital a lot. And, when doctors tell you things and you have to accept them, it's a process, and you learn from them. A lot of us will Google it, but back in the day, it was the books, what is this? How can you take what it is, but what's going to help it and manage it and everything? So, what was the process through that for you guys?
So I think for me and my husband, it was very different. My husband wanted to find an answer, take care of it, be the
Yeah.
provider, like take care of what we needed to in the minute. And he was excellent, right? So he was the one going to work 12 hours a day, making sure that we had a roof over our head, being the excellent dad, coming home and laughing and watching the hilarity happen.
Yeah.
And then I was the one who was going to all the appointments, going to meetings with schools, and then we would talk at night, my husband and I. In the grind of the day, I was also the one reading all of the books. Part of what happened with our son is he lost his nerve endings. The illness that happened at 2, he lost, so he couldn't feel his fingers or his feet or we later discovered that he couldn't feel pain much at all. So that was one of the side effects for when he went through this illness, along with losing most of his skills at that 2-year-old level. And so we were trying to reintroduce, make new, they call them neuron pathways in the brain. And that was so going to all of the therapy appointments and reading all of the handouts and going to the library and teaching new ways to communicate. And then, so that was what I was doing. And then I would talk with my husband and say, this is what the doctor said today, and all of those things. But it was going to a library and
Yeah.
checking out a book and then ordering a book from Barnes and Noble or whoever the bookstore was at the time. There was no online ordering.
Yeah.
It was that long ago. I know people are going to be wondering, why didn't you just get it on that online ordering site? It didn't exist
I
30
know, right?
years ago. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have all
Yeah.
of our devices, which is extraordinary to think about the ways that we have now.
Yeah.
So we stepped through it a bit at a time, and we felt every emotion. We felt the confusion. We felt the disbelief. We felt the unknowns, and then we moved forward. So we felt it all. We did what we could, and then we moved forward with it because our son was moving forward. He was going to keep going with us or without us. And if
Yeah.
we were going to get too bogged down in the moment of disbelief, then he was not going to get the joy that he was choosing, because he was still enamored with the slide at the playground and the books that we were reading and emptying out the toy room, because that's what 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds do.
Yeah.
That's the joy that he presented to us. So we lived with it. We
Yeah.
felt it all, like we were enamored with him and all of the things around us. And we stepped through it as well as we could in the moments.
Yeah, definitely. So, I know this is probably the hardest question. Going through the years, watching him grow up, watching the joy, the hope, the faith come through. And it's a blessing. It really is. I know you took every minute of every day to create memories. And that's what you hold on to. So I know you said he his life was ended at a young age, what, 22?
Mhm.
So with that time of going through that, um, neural pathways and nerve endings, that's still like scientific, and they're going to try new things all the time to figure out. Did you, over the years, with everything the doctors were doing, did you see an improvement, like it was working, or was it just kind of like getting by? Like, I hate to say that, like, just I think it's hard because I have neuralgia parathesikia, and I can't feel my fingers at times and my feet, and they put a stimulator in my back.
Mm.
I don't think it works right now, but yeah, I'm a robot. But it, it's the brain and changing that. So, I mean, that's extensive. Like, to me, I just, what was the progress? If, can you share that with us? Like,
So it was extraordinary for him. He did not ever think there was a stopping point. And I think the tenacity and the audaciousness that him as a being was his essence as a human, and that was never changed from him with his illness. And I don't know how that was created in him, except for it was. So when he was in the hospital, he had what was called ataxia, which means he couldn't stand up or sit up or even hold his head up. He just his neurological workup had changed to the point that he couldn't do that any longer. And the doctors thought that he wasn't ever going to be able to do those things. And they set that around him one day during their rounds when he was in the hospital. Well, the next day he got up and pulled himself up out of the crib and started walking again. And it may have a correlation with his sheer determination and his tenacity. And there was a little bit of him saying, let me see what I can do. Let's see what this can happen from here on out. He never stopped being himself through all of his life. And
Yeah.
that included the progression with the therapists. He did learn how to walk again. He learned how to use his hands really well, not to the point that he could write like his name or things, but he could color, he could use sign language to a point that most people who used sign language could understand him. He was able to sign with us to let us know what he needed and wanted and had ideas about. He was hilarious and told jokes and cracked up and walked away laughing over them. So he did progress beautifully
Yeah.
along his path until the next things happened. And illnesses always were a part of his really bizarre journey, if we can say that.
Yeah.
But he just kept going. So he would recover and go to the next thing. And it would put him sideways again, and he would recover. He did have secondary massive illnesses that then was part of the reason that he did. Eventually, he did pass away, but he did everything on his terms and he led doctors and specialists. So there was an innate part of him that was like, we will be doing this on
Yeah.
my parameters. And are you coming? Because I will be going to play with grandeur. And this is how we're going to be bouncing over this and this. And if you look deeply enough into my eyes, I will bring you to the joy, along with the confusion and the strangeness and the things that don't make any sense. And I
Yeah.
think it was a part of his essence that we just needed to sit in his space and not make him come to ours. And that's the pureness.
Yeah.
If we can sit with it, it doesn't have to make sense. Because truthfully, it never did with him, and he didn't care. He was
Hmm.
just like, are you coming? Come on.
Yeah.
So it's a really big continued space to be in because he is still joyful. His space still is joyful.
Yep. It sure is. And you guys, you followed that joy with him. And I put myself in your shoes too. What if it was me? And I would think if my kiddo has accepted the diagnosis, I wanted to live every day the best that they possibly could and be happy and joy, that joy carries on and they want you happy. That's, and you're living the best life by teaching others right now too of what you have experienced and the emotions and the grief and everything. So I know you've done a bunch of conferences. Let's talk about that. How have you been able to help others find hope? and move forward?
So I think part of, again, what has brought me to this space is when we can take what we have come through and are coming into. And part of that was just the almost ridiculous audacity to think there is possibility, right? So
Mhm.
when we came home from the hospital 30 years ago and they said, okay, good luck. We have no idea what happened, which they never knew how he got so sick. And they never understood what happened all of those years of his entire life. And we said, okay, we're going to be in this space. When I can share that with somebody and say, this is how Dallin was able to communicate, even though he lost all spoken language, he used many ways to let us know not only what he wanted, but also what he was thinking about, and the hilarity around him and what he needed for us to do next. Not only what he needed, but what he needed for us to do. And there's
Yeah.
a difference there.
Yes, there is.
There's a little variation of a theme there, but if we can also say, let's just begin and let's believe that somebody has the determination within their own essence as a human on the planet with us, if we can pause and believe them, which we can,
Mm-hmm.
then that's what we're able to do. And when I get to speak and share how Dallin taught that and how he lived it. And people say, but wait, he had this and this and this and this and this going on. And I said, yes, and it's yes, and not yes, but
Yeah.
it's yes, and he still taught us. And he was the one who directed his life because that's the power of his being. Then we can move forward. And I think that's the shift from hearing his story to having it become somebody else's as well,
Yeah.
to not only hearing that we survive, but we're becoming who we're supposed to be. And isn't that audacious? Because we grieve daily, but we also live with pure abandon. And that's also very unattainable for some people to do both. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone around them is still here. Like you
Yeah.
don't have to go through massive changes to need to look at life that way. But I think the most deeply held point that has brought me to this space is what I learned when I started to study grief, which is almost ridiculous that I came to that point. Like, why would you study grief? Like, let's not do that. But sometimes we must, and I needed to. But the questions were from a really great human. His name is David Kessler. And he said, am I okay today? And to stay in this present space. And we had been for so many years. But
Mm-hmm.
am I still okay today? And if I'm not, what can I do about that? Do I need to look up at those clouds that I used to stop when I was running to look at? Do I need to do that? Focus on what I can do. We did that for so many years. I did that when I was young. What
Mm-hmm.
can I do today? Can
Yep.
I go play on the monkey bars? What can I do now? I still might go play on the monkey bars.
You're strong enough to do it. And what was it? The monkey bars, and it was the little pole where you do the flipping.
Yeah, those flips, oh my gosh, with my
Oh
knees.
my
I don't know if I could
gosh.
do that now.
I don't think I could do that either. I like hit my head on the ground. Go
Yeah,
down. What did you do? I wanted to act like a kid. So I
that's
went
right.
to the
That's
monkey
right.
bars and then trying all the
Yeah.
flip. But, definitely. So with, teaching others and talking about everything and the grief. The
Mhm.
grief is for me, I talking to others, it's a very like, it's a process and you have to go by it little by little. And each day is going to be different, you know? You have to be strong, know who you are as a person. And you're right. Am I going to have a good day? If this were to come up, how am I going to handle this and move forward, you know? But people get moments, you know? We're going to cry still. We're going to be like, and we need it. We need that cry to also heal. So I always say the memory is always there. It will live on, but it's not just a memory because I feel like they're still with us every day. I know that with my friend. It's so funny because I'll get these dreams and they feel so real. And it's like I can still hear her talking, you know? But the one thing we always talked about was like, I wish the world could know this and that. And
Mhm.
I mean, that has been like our thing for 5 years. And here it is. Keep hope alive. It took what? How long to get here and share people's stories? But, you know, it is an honor of her life too, you know. Um, when people go through different health things, it's always very challenging. But it also pulls us forward to help others. Now, I'm sorry, I had something in my eye. So I mean, as you've been teaching about the disabilities, the mental illness part factor too, what has that been like for you? And how do people react when you're like teaching about it and everything like that? So,
I think when I bring up mental illness, especially with people who have intellectual disability and mental illness, our son experienced that from the time he was 10 going forward. And sometimes it's a little confusing for folks to understand that those two things can exist together. A
yeah.
little less now, a little less confusing now because we've done such research. And I was part of an organization who spoke and taught and still is doing that nationally and in fact internationally, but I was with that organization. It's the part of my learning and understanding that brought me to such awareness for our son. So
Mhm.
when he started to have health changes again and again and again, he also started having anxiety attacks and clinical depression symptoms. And it's at a time when many physicians or clinicians did not understand. Again, he's an old guy right now if he were still here with us,
Mhm.
and they did not understand that those two things could come together. So we were trying to figure out how to bring him calm and understanding into his world along with his other disabilities that had come from that original illness. And so we were teaching things like how to do calming breath, which came to him through occupational therapists and
Mhm.
speech therapists to give him additional language. But at times it became just really overwhelming, as it is for those of us who have experienced anxiety or times of depression. It becomes so intense. And he did not have the full language abilities to say, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I need, even though he did have communication supports, this huge array, because it is hard to understand what that feels like
Mhm.
when, like, if you and I were to be going through it, it's hard for us to understand it. And he was going through high intense medical needs and additional illnesses and things. And so when I speak about mental health needs for people who have disabilities, then we have this additional awareness of, first of all, that it is there. And then how can we support somebody for what they're doing and
Mhm.
needing through clinical supports and medication supports, those two going together. And it's
Yeah.
really complex. And it was complex for our son for almost a dozen years. And we did the best we could with the realm that we lived in, meaning it was a long time ago. And we did alter his needs as we could.
Yeah.
But he did a few things. He did yoga as well. It was super fun for him to
Good.
do yoga, and then he was able to do like some calming breaths. What we would call four square breathing now. He was learning how to do a little bit of that and a couple poses, very simple poses, because he
Yay.
also had some physical disabilities. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
it's
But you
very
know,
important.
going out there and trying, and you know what? Yoga is such good meditation and peace and joy and
Yeah,
happiness. So,
sure.
and I think for me, I'm one with nature. I will say that. So there's something about being the outdoors and seeing it that
Yeah,
calms you down, and you just get this whole new perspective, which is so beautiful. I love it. So,
yeah,
but definitely, and then you're an author too. So you wrote a book about this, and
I did.
tell us about your book.
So the book, I will tell you, was a surprise. It was not something that I had been like dreaming of and thinking about since I was super young. This book came about after I had been presenting and speaking about our son for so many years.
Yep.
And then a few years after he passed away, I presented at a conference. I was actually in Niagara Falls. Beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love Niagara Falls.
I
It's
gotta
just
get there.
gorgeous. So pretty. Those falls are extraordinary. And I presented on a couple of ideas and I put the ideas to songs. They were a couple of songs from like modern artists. One was, I believe, Closer to Fine from Indigo Girls, and another one was a Bon Jovi song. And I thought, okay, let's just see how this goes. This is where my brain is. I was just coming through new grief, and I presented at this conference, and people said, no one talks about these things. And I said, I know. And yeah, we should be.
Yeah.
And from there, more songs kept coming to me. And every chapter of this book has titles of songs as their lead out. And what happened after that conference is these songs just kept coming to me. And the experiences with the songs kept blending together. And I thought, this is ridiculous. And I gathered them together on receipts and sticky notes and just put them into a notebook. And they sat there for a few more years. And then the stories pounded at me. And it just became relentless. And
Yeah.
I was like, fine, I will pound it out. And I wrote it out in 1 year after it sat with me for those previous probably 4 years.
Yeah.
And I pounded it out and said, whew, it's done. And then I told somebody about it after I had created my website. I was starting a blog, and they said, what have you done? You have got to publish. And I was like, there is no way I'm going to publish. And they said, good luck with that. Yes, you will. And I did. So I published the book. Every chapter is a title of a song. They are the stories that came to me from that very beginning of presenting in
Yeah.
Niagara Falls. And they are the stories that came to me. It is not our son's entire life. That would be a 1,000-page book, and I still would have left things out. But they are the stories that flowed and pounded and gave me the two-step from his first interaction in the hospital,
Yeah.
and then the final flow up from to the end of his life, but then I flow it back up again. So those are the chapters in that book that just found a rhythm. And it was a constant drumming and strumming, and And
Yeah.
then I followed through with it. And then when it was completed, it's not complete because there are people who are like, you didn't tell this about him, and you didn't tell this, and why didn't you answer this question? And I said, because it's his story, and
Yes.
there's always more to tell,
Yep.
but it is his essence. It is his, like, just breathe with it.
Yeah.
And it is gnarly and it is intense, but everyone's story is, or would be if we were to put our spaces onto a page. But he did become quite a really cool human.
That's
He was
good.
really cool.
I feel like he loved music too. What did
He
he
did.
listen to?
So anything with a beat, he would, if we would put music on, he would just like bounce to the beat up the stairs and start like just pounding to it. Or if we were in the car, he just couldn't help but tap his toe. But when he was teeny tiny, he would just like you could see his head just bopping. He loved anything with a beat. He was not afraid of any music. He just
That's
flowed with it and just he had a rhythm that just became part of life. He
yeah.
was so full of everything.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Keep Hope Alive came from a lyric.
Hmm. Which one? Oh, I'm intrigued.
See, like what I didn't understand in life, being a certified wedding planner, photographer, of course, I'm in the event industry, but I also taught people how to get out of abusive relationships. And it took one lady to like, wait, your group is not online. I really wanted to hear you speak. And I was like,
Mm,
no, it's in person. Sorry about that. I never in a million years thought I would do a podcast. And then my a doctor said, if you ever do a talk, I want to be on a podcast with you. And I was just like, whoa. And I'll never forget the day I talked to one of my members, and she's like, podcast is a great idea. And you see, I hear things and I just let it go. Like, no, 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 no. I'm just stubborn like that. But then one day I was just listening. Somebody opened up and told me a story, not even a story, their journey. And I just listened. And they said, I'm so sorry. I'm so rude. I'd even introduce my, or I go, you never know when you're sitting next to an angel, you know. And I said, maybe one day there'll be a podcast. That was my true awakening.
hmm
But to learn out later on, just by listening and hearing the story, it helped this person to move on in
Wow.
life. And it felt good. And it's been like that for a while. But to get back to the music lyric, I was like, well, how do I help the world? Like, that's what I'm here for. I already know my gift, God, how can I use it to the best of my ability? And I was driving with my ex, and he put in Crystal Method. And I haven't heard that band in ages. So of course I'm in, no, I just kind of like that. But one of the lyric words was "Keep Hope Alive," and I go, wait, 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 wait. Nobody has my name. Like "Keep Hope Alive" by Nadine. That's it. Like, and then it just developed and it
Yep.
grew, and
Yes.
I had faith, and I was like, I had to program myself. There's going to be challenges, but we're going to get over it. This is a good cause, and we're going to continue it. It's things like that. You have to have the positive energy to move through. But like lyrics are important. The beat of music is important to the body, mind, and soul. So,
Yep.
I'm glad that he liked that. Did he watch like many movies? Did he have a favorite TV show?
He did. So he loved the most ridiculous things. Like he watched Lion King, the original,
Yep.
probably 100 times. He loved the predictability of it. He loved running, so he would follow the actions and he would run through the house with the wildebeests. But he also loved good old Mr. Rogers, and he loved
Yeah.
Arthur the Aardvark, and he loved Shrek. The ending of Shrek, where they're all dancing, oh
Yeah.
my word, the house would shake because he was dancing so much. And at the end of his life, when he was too weak to dance, he would still pound his foot on the floor so that he was dancing still, or he would move anything that he could still. So all of the movies that are ridiculous, like The Incredibles, when they're running through the tunnels, all of the things that just make you crack up because they're slapstick humor and they are mostly just sheer hilariousness. Toy Story, right? Where he has the Cheeto fingers is ridiculous. So all of those things that are hilarious. Griswold Christmas.
Oh, I'm
You
glad you said that. I was thinking about that.
yes,
Did he like Cousin Eddie?
yes, all of it. Like when they were going down the hill on those round,
Slide.
super,
Yeah,
yes,
greased up.
that part. Oh my word, the squirrel in the Christmas tree, all of the things, right? All of the things that are so ridiculous that crack everyone up, that we're crying with just sheer ridiculousness is what would crack him up
I
the
was
most.
meant to talk to you today because
Yes.
putting up that Christmas tree, my office manager, she gets scared of stuff, and I go, "Oh my gosh, it's a squirrel!" Where?
Yes.
But
All of the
I'm
things.
thinking of the movie, so
Yeah.
I had a
He also loved things like MASH, MASH, the TV show with the helicopters.
yeah,
He loved helicopters, and so he would watch MASH, watching for a helicopter, and he loved fire trucks and ambulances, so he would watch shows to watch for ambulances and fire trucks. And so he was this really eclectic, super um jivey kind of guy who just went from one extreme with Sesame Street to watching like Griswold Christmas on the next second. And so he was this extraordinary human who taught us to be right here, do what you know, and then when you know more, do more, right? That's
yeah.
a really bad quote.
He also taught don't let anything get in the way, health related,
Wonderful.
because
Yeah.
you know what? Stomping that foot still, he wasn't gonna let it bother him.
No,
Y- You
no.
know,
Yeah.
he has a great family. I can see it, the love that you guys give, the joy that you gave him. It was wonderful. That's all he ever needed in life was you guys. And you were there for him every inch of the way. And you made the life possible and perfect. And I know he's happy. I know he's looking down at you guys and
Oh,
he feels accomplished. That's a great feeling to have. So never stop what you're doing because the more you talk and teach, it's just putting that smile on his face. He's enjoying every moment. That's a new word. It's a
it's a
moment.
new word. That's actually exactly
I
what we
said
do. We
moment.
create new words. That's right. I think that if there is the next thing that we do,
Yeah.
and I know we're looking at all of the things, is so what can we do next? That is the thing. So what are we going to do next? What can we and what are we going to do next? And we were given such opportunities for meeting the right people, being taught by extraordinary mentors and teachers and
Yeah.
really powerful doctors who never stopped with him, then what can we do and what are we going to do next? And then that's our next space in time. And that's my third act. That's what I talk about all the time is I have no idea what I'm really doing next, but I am going to do it one day at a time. And when I do a little blub and mess up, then I'm going to start again the next day. And I sure do that a lot, is start again the next day. And if I get a little stronger, I'm going to keep climbing those darnable mountains because I have a bunch right outside my window.
I'm so jealous. You know that. I'm so jealous. I gotta be there. I'm gonna get to Utah. I just
Come to
got,
Utah, say hello.
of course, but I'll be on a mountain.
Yeah,
So if you can find me,
there you go.
not
Yes,
with
thank
my
you.
camera. So, but yeah, definitely. Now, if people want to go and find your book, where can they find your book?
So it's on Amazon, but it's also on my website. That's juliapierce.net.
Okay.
I love to network. That's why I chose .net. It's also a good place to find me is on Facebook or Instagram. On there, it may be under runnamokk on Instagram because it's what I do, or Julia Pearce. That's Pearce.
Yes, yes. So let's yeah, run amok.
Yes, I
And I'm
know.
gonna put all your links on there so they can get to them right away. And definitely we're gonna add the book so people can read about this too. So, you know, I see many good things happening in your future, and I just want to let you know that. So your story has not end. And I want you
Thank
in
you.
the next couple of years to check in with me too, because I want to hear the great things that you have accomplished and everything.
Thank you.
So,
There's
you know,
always more, right? There's always more.
there is. I mean, everybody has a story and it continues. It evolves is the word I'm looking for. So don't think this is it and that's the stop of it. No, no. You may be on chapter 2 or 3, but look at me. Like, for me, I kind of like started it off. Hey, I'm on season 7. Did I ever think I was gonna get to season 7?
Yeah.
No, no, 10 episodes per season. And I was like, maybe I should have made it 20 or 30 or, what does Virgin River do? Like, I'm thinking Netflix, what do I need to do? But definitely. So, but I am just in awe with everything and your work that you've done and conferences and the book writing and bringing this knowledge with our Keep Hope Alive podcast. We do have a number that people can call in if they have questions for you, and that's 833-780-HOPE. So if you have any questions for Julia, please feel free to call and leave a message. I've also even added on my website like a little voicemail thing. It's only 30 seconds, but hey, if you have a question, you can just do it from the website as well. But I want to make sure I touch base with everything that you do and going from committee to committee and living life the way you do. What am I missing, girl?
So I think the things that I really, really love to do is also helping other families and helping other
Hey,
people with disability find the things that they need. And if that's making connections, if that's helping them know that there are things that can help in the spaces that they are following an individual's lead, then I love that. I follow the person's lead. I love working with everyone and professionals as well. So if that's other stuff that I get to be able to do, again, I do love doing all of that. I love presenting and speaking with other folks to let them know how to get into that next space, because I think we're all trying to figure out, wait, what are we doing here? I've come through this and now I need to go to there. So
yep.
thank you for all of this. What an extraordinary space that you've brought to people.
Oh
This
my
is
gosh,
incredible.
thank you. Thank you. But I was thinking, oh, I want to hire you as a speaker. So that's stuff you do. Like,
Ew.
if you want to hire her, contact her, to come out and speak. And you're so motivational. Like, you're the true essence of hope too. So, you keep living life and moving forward. And I love that about you. Definitely creating this space for people is what matters. And, there's a segment on my website too, being heard. I love that statement. I had to learn that a long time ago. But listen to people, take the time, have patience, understand what the other person has gone through. Sometimes we only get wrapped up in our lives, but we talk about it so much that we miss the other conversation of that person saying, well, I've been through this and this. But if we take time and we breathe and we listen and we get to share a story, we're going to learn a lot about people, because everybody has to go through a journey and a challenge, and it's how well you overcome it is the lesson. And if we can teach others that, yay, that's hope.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah.
100%. Thank you.
Definitely. So, also, I want to thank our many sponsors that make Keep Hope Alive podcast a success here. So we have lifeonrecord.com, the interactive guest book. We also have Bridal Shows Inc. If you are in the Dallas Fort Worth area and you're planning a special event, you can go to many of their trade shows and meet the different vendors and get their information and even book them. So check them out. We do have partytimetexas.com, your one-stop shop for all your party planning needs, whether you need a DJ, band, caterer, venue, photographer, the list goes on. Check them out as well. Miles and Smiles Events.com. Deborah Rose, she is a delight. Not only does she have a background in investigator, she's not doing that, let me tell you, but she is a handwriting analysis and lipstick reader, and she's 100% accurate. Check out her stuff because she's amazing to have at your events. Then we have Bryce Harney, who is traveling all around the United States, one of the top magicians in the world. I'm going to say that now. But he is, of course, a magician and a mind mentalist reader. So book him for your next event. It's brycemagic.com. Our last one is richmondpunch.net, probably because he likes to network too. But he graduated from the Juilliards. He's a violinist. He's played in front of 1 million people before on some Lifetime shows too, as a background for, I believe, the music and everything. But he travels all around weddings, corporate events, whatever you need. So check him out too. Now, where can you find Keep Hope Alive podcast? Anywhere you find a podcast, you'll be able to find us too. So remember the phone number. Remember, you can leave the message. Check out all our episodes because they spread hope throughout the world. So I want to thank you so much for coming on and everything. And it was a true delight. And I just want this to go so viral and send it to the world and let them know, you're not alone in this world. And if you ever have questions, reach out and ask those questions. But I hope you have a wonderful holiday season because Christmas is what is it next week? Yeah, it's coming up. So yeah, yeah. Have fun, do all the shopping, and get ready. So, but until our next show, love and light. Thank you, Juliet. And we will see you next show. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.